Hi, mein Hase. Na, alles gut bei dir? Been running around today. You can see red cheeks. Hi, my friends. It's Thursday night. Is it Thursday? It is Thursday. It's Thursday night. And welcome to my Facebook page. My name is Angela Bailey and I am the owner and creative energy of Elfen Helden. We are located nearby Frankfurt in Germany, and apart from Rhinestonedesigns and Custom Shirts, we also do furniture painting and different projects, DIYs, wood signs, you just name it. A lot of things. And we are also a premier retailer for Dixie Belle. Dixie Belle paint is, they are mainly chalk mineral paints, and they are from America, and they are about 8 weeks now over here in Germany. So I've had a chance also to try those paints out by now a couple of times. And I must say I absolutely love them. They've got a whole range of products, so you can basically do a lot of things with their paints. And the biggest opportunity of those paints basically is that you don't really have to prep your piece, you don't have to seal your piece. Those paints work even without preparation or sealing really well. But sometimes it's advisable to do so, especially when you have like a very shiny piece and a slick surface like glass or something like that, or this like IKEA furniture or whatever. And this piece behind me was also something I had to prep with that first, because it was like almost had like a mirror type of top surface. So but even so, I tried it out on there just to stick the paint on the side, just without any preparation, and it adhered really well. I was so surprised. But anyhow, because I want to that this piece is going to be nice for quite some time, I put some Slick Stick on there. So Slick Stick is basically a product from Dixie Belle. Where have I got it? Hang on. I already put it away again. This is basically what it looks like. That's the tin, and it comes in 2 or 3 different sizes. I'm not quite sure. But anyhow, you just put it on like any paint, and I wanted to show you what it looks like. If I can get it open. Luckily, there are no neighbors underneath me. I'm not gonna get it open now. Oh well, not now. Sorry, I've got no power left today. But anyhow, you can see behind me it goes on white, and as well as all the Dixie Belle chalk mineral paints. Also, it is a self-leveling paint, which means when you put it on those brush strokes, they will level out. Sorry, I have to apologize, guys. After all, I am German, so I'm sometimes lost for words, and please don't be too hard on me. But anyhow, when you pop on, just let me know that you're watching and where you're watching from. Even when you're watching the replay, just let me know where you're from. And if you have any questions to those paints, I'll be happy to help you out. Just leave your questions in the comments. You can leave them either in English or in German as you wish. Other languages work too. The Google Translator is pretty good, so I can work with that also and try to help you out. If you're looking for your local retailer, you can go to the Dixie Belle page. You can find your local retailer there, and if you haven't got a local retailer, I'll be happy to help you out. I've got all the paints and all the products stocked in my shop, and I've also got like a web shop where you can order those paints. But as I said, if you have any questions, just write me a PM or just put it in the comments. I get back to you. So, as I said, we covered the piece in Slick Stick first because it was a very shiny piece, and I've dropped the draw, as you can see. And we also closed up those holes. You can see it there. There was one handle was missing anyway, and this was the other one which was on there, which I don't really like. So I'm not going to use that. I'm going to put on those ones later. So is that, can you see those? Yeah, they're nice and pinky. They're gonna go on there. And also the paints I'm going to use. Okay, what I've also done to that piece, because you're probably not seeing it really well, but the bottom drawer at the moment is basically leveling with the floor. Because what I've done, I've cut this side table right down to the bottom drawer, because the side panels basically went right down to the floor, and there was like a wooden board underneath also right down to the floor, and I just don't like that. So the feet I'm going to use, they already came also, which is those I'm going to put on. I'm not going to leave them in that color. They're going to be painted. I'm just not quite sure which color I'm going to choose for it. And they are, oh, you can't see it. Oh, I don't know, can you side? Oh, you probably can see here. And they're going to go underneath, so it's going to be a bit higher then. So those are the feet which are going to get on there. And the paints I'm using for this one are going to be firstly drop cloth, which is a creamy white. I'm using farmhouse green, which is a nice fresh light green. This is gonna go on. And I am also using colored greens, which is like a very dark dirty green. Those are the three colors. And I'm also going to put on a transfer afterwards. And the reason I've chosen those colors basically is because the transfer is from Redesign with Prima. It's the Châtel Rose, which is this one. And I'm going to use this part. I'm just going to take it out. Oh, gotta be careful. That's not gonna go. I'm going to use basically this part of it. And you see it's like a pink rose, and because I don't want it to be too sweet at the end, I'm taking a bit of dirty, muddy colors together apart from the Farm Fresh. So, and the transfer is gonna go over it then like this, and I'm going to wrap it around the side also. So that's the plan. Anyhow, let's see if I'm going to stick to that plan, because sometimes I start painting, and while I'm painting I'm not liking it or whatever. And whatever you do, if you use those paints, whatever project you do is only paint. So if you don't like it, just paint over it. You know, there's if you're not sure if you like it, try it out, and if you don't like it, paint over it. And maybe it turns out better than you even thought. So that's how I work around it. It doesn't really help that I'm not nervous doing it in front of everybody and on camera and people watching me doing it. But anyhow, that's when you do it for yourself, just don't worry. If you don't like it, you can basically paint over it. That's it. So let's get started. As I said, I've put one coat of slick stick on. I let it dry for about 2 hours. Then I put a second coat of slick stick on, and I let it dry overnight. So this is nice and dry, and we'll get going now. I'm going to blend the paint. Firstly, we are going to have a brush for every color. As we're using 3 colors, I'm using three brushes. And the Dixie Belle, I've got the mini and the mini angle. They are my favorite brushes from Dixie Belle. I'm waiting for some new ones. I've just ordered some. I haven't got any more left here, so I'm gonna use one of my old brushes. I prefer the shorter handles. You see, this has got a pretty long handle. I really like those short handles because I feel I got like more control and I can move it better. And I'm having a force brush basically, and this one I'm going to use later on when I blend the colors together. This is my neutral brush, and so to say is going to be the eraser I'm using. I've got my mister bottle because those shark mineral paints, they dry pretty quickly, and especially for blending you like to have a moist, so I'm using like this mister bottle. It's just a very fine mist. When you use something like that, I would always recommend a mister bottle like this one. I also have them in my online shop. I wouldn't use a normal like those plant or for clothes, those spray bottles, because they have pretty hard drips. And for some projects you want to have the paint dripping at the end, then it's fine. But especially when you do blending, you don't want to have like drips running down. So this is a very fine mist, and it doesn't build up drips or something like that. So that's what I'm going to use. Got that on hand. Anything else? Can't think. Talking. Guys, sorry, I've got to have a drink. My mouth is so dry. Excuse me, some tea. So, cheers. I love this tea. This is fresh ginger, fresh mint, and lime. So that's very refreshing. Okay, let's get going. So I'm first gonna start with my middle color. I'm gonna first put the middle color down, and then I'm gonna come back with the darker color and with the lighter color. But I'm first gonna put the middle color down. And today I think we're doing the first coat. So the first coat won't be perfect. So don't expect it to be like perfectly blended. The first coat is basically to get an idea how it's going to look like at the end, and it's not going to be perfect. So that's where we get going. We start on the side. Turn it around without dropping it, possibly. Can you see? Get it over. Get the camera a bit back, I think. And a bit further down. Hang on, guys. I've got to get you down a little bit. That's it. can see what I am doing. So, is that okay like that? Can you see like that? Again, when you pop on, just let me know where you're watching from and say hello to me that you're there. And even when you watch replay, just let me know that you've been watching. So, then I'm first going to have my sanding sponge. First, you don't have to sand it down or anything, but just like to do it just in case there's whatever, something was on the brush or something like that and it's like a little higher spot. So I'm just using a very fine sanding sponge and I'm just going over it, just like this. So, and as this has got no wood grain or anything, it doesn't matter which direction I'm going. So that's it, and then I'm going to wipe it back with a damp cloth, nothing else. So I'm just gonna wipe it back so that there's no dust on it, and then I'm going to put on my first color. So. It. And the first color, as I said, I'm starting with the mid-tone, which is the farmhouse green. This is that nice green, nice and fresh. That opens easier. And so I am, as always, going to use the paint out of the lid, and I'm also going to dampen my brush with the Mr. Buffalo. A little bit on the surface. This is basically just that the paint is like sliding easier over the project. So, just like that. You see, it's like not too much paint on there. You can always grab some more. It's just, you can see how nicely it goes on there. And that slick stick I put on there underneath is basically because there was like a very shiny surface on this side table. And this is the paint will stick to it anyway, but with the slick stick it's got really something to grip onto and to hold on, because we don't want it to basically come off eventually. So nice coverage already. So as I said, this is going to be the first coat. So this is that. Now I'm gonna come back with my darker color, which is the colored green. This is this dark green. Shake it up first. Nice and shaking. And those chalk mineral paints, they are eco-friendly. They've got no smell to them whatsoever. And they're very easy to use. They are water-based, as most of the products from Dixie Belle. Trying to get a lid off. And I don't mind. It doesn't come off very well. And it's like this, the paints always come with like one of those protective covers. And I've just made a right mess. Hang on. This is like me painting. Just give me a pen, give me some paint, it doesn't matter what it is. 5 minutes and I'm looking like a little pig. So, ooh, that gray looks nice and dirty on the fingers. Look at this. I'm not worried about that. If I wash them later, as I said, they're water-based, it's gonna come right off. So I'm gonna come back now with my darker color. Another brush for it. Take the mini angle and also dampen it. I've got to get down now. So take it from the lid again. Wipe it back just like a little paint on there, not too much. And I'm going to start on the outside. So, just like this. Just like that. So it's already getting a little sticky. What I tend to have like a little muddy around because the transfer itself is having some pink roses, slight pink roses, and I don't want it to look too sweet. So this is very wobbly on here. Why is it that wobbly? Hang on guys, I think I've got it. When it drops. I can see it dropping. Hang on. That's better. So that's better. Get it nice and moist. And just work it in there. So then I'm gonna come back with my middle color. It looks nice. Are we done? So, dampen it up. So, I'm just going to come back with that. Just going to work it nicely in. Get it nice and damp. Up and down, up and down. Drying up already. So you can see it is already clean my brush because it's get to grab a little more of the middle color. Come back in. You can always which one was that? You can always clean it in between and put some more water on there. That's it. I want to have the darker color basically only on the outside. I don't want to have too much on the inside because the transfer, just a little more of the dark color. Go back with that one. Otherwise you won't see the writing which is on there. So that's that. Come back with the middle color again. See it blending into each other. So then got it to a point where I think I quite like it. Bit nice and damp. I'm gonna come back with my neutral brush. I'm just gonna go over it. So that's it for now. And my neutral brush, which is the oval mini from Dixie Belle, is the one. It's also a synthetic brush, and it's got nice soft bristles, and it's very, very rich. It takes a lot of paint, which at the moment, because I'm using it as a dry brush. And now I'm just gonna go over it with a very light hand. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So clean it up in between, because I want to have this one, I want to have clean. Very light hand, up and down, clean it up in between. Very light hand, just like, as I said, this is going to be just the first coat. It's not going to be perfect. This is basically just to get an idea what the paints look like together. So now I'm going to come back with my lightest color, which is the, oh no, that's a glue stick. I'm not going to use that. Where have I got it? There. Which is the drop cloth. It's a nice creamy white, and this is gonna go in the middle as a highlight. Oops. And you can see it's like nice and creamy white. It's not a pure white. So use my third brush, dampen it up. Always work with a damp brush. I like anyway. This, don't know about you. And just have like a little paint, and then I'm gonna come back in the middle. Just like that. And just highlight the middle up. Grab some more. A bit lighter. Oops. Just like this. I already feel it drying up again. So, just in the middle. Back and forth. Blend it nicely in there. So now I'm gonna come back with my middle color. And up again. I'm gonna blend it together with the white now. That's it. Let's see, it's drying up already there. And at the end, I don't want to have, basically, I don't want to see any transition line, nothing. It's gonna be nicely blended into each other. And as I said, today is basically just the first coat, which is not going to be perfect. Now I'm gonna come back with the darkest color. I've got to think that I'm not getting confused here. Still taking the paint from the lid, don't need much. And just gonna go on the corners to have it there a little darker. So up and down and in. So I don't want the dark green be too dominant, because the writing on the transfer is also almost this color. And come back with my metal color, get a bit more paint. And so you won't basically see it then at the end. So work it back and forth and across. You can basically continue that as long as you wish. There's too much of the... That's it. And today is the first layer, which won't be perfect. Don't need it perfect, because the second layer is then basically the one. You can see the idea of it. You can see how it's like there's a nice transition between the colors, and they nicely mix into each other, and even they are pretty different in brightness, from white to almost black. So I'm going to come back in the middle. I want a little more highlight in there. So I just clean that brush. Sometimes I don't know if I should paint with left or with right, or this is I'm both-handed, so to say. Sometimes I'd like to paint with my left hand, and sometimes I like to paint with my right hand. This is basically just going back and forth and blending it in. Keep it nice and moist, makes it easier to blend in. Under my knees, sorry. Bony knees aching. To my right. So, this, down to the side. And then I've got it to a stage where I like it. I'm gonna come back some lighter. That's my metal color. So, and then I'm gonna come with my neutral brush, which is just a dry brush. I'm just using this, and then I'm gonna go with a very light hand, just back and forth, very light hand. And it is you can see it's almost erasing those lines. Clean it up in between. Keep the paint wet so you can move it better. So, up and down, clean it up. Something on there. So, this is basically what we are going for. Very light right hand, just up and down, you can see the brush strokes disappear and you get like a smooth transition between the colors. Very right hand, you can see the paint is like drying up, and the colored green, the darkest color, I just want to have basically just like a shadow on the outside. I don't want to have it dominant on there. So I don't want to overwork the paint now because it is only the first layer, which doesn't need to be perfect. I'm just going to put the colors down how they're supposed to be, just to see what it's going to look like. And I think I'm going to leave it like this now and let it dry. That's it. So, what do you think? Oh, hello sis. Ah, thank you, sweetheart. Yes, Suzanne, she's a painter also. Her dad is a carpenter. She's basically my, well, she's my sis. She's the sister of my ex-hubby, and I still love her to pieces. So, and she is in America. So, oh, thank you, darling. This is something for you as well, Sus. So it's not only about spray, you can do that also. It's about painting also. So what's the time? Okay. I don't want to take your time too much. It's basically I wanted to show you what the next step, what we're going to do with the paint. And the paints we were using today is colored green from color greens from Dixie Belle. Chalk mineral paints, they are eco-friendly, no smell, water-based, very easy to work with. And the color greens I've been using on the outside to get like the shadow on the outside. Then we have the I'm always chaotic. I always put my things all around, and it's always nice and tidy when I start, and about 10 minutes later I look like a pig. I've got paint all over me and I've got all the stuff like all over the place. The farmhouse green we've been using, which is like the middle color, you can see because it's blended into each other. It's not so fresh green anymore. It's like nice and subtle, so it's not too bright, but I don't want. And we using drop cloth, which is a creamy white. And yeah, this is basically the highlight in the middle, and you won't see at the end the transition between the colors. And I don't want to have that you can make out where one color starts and the other color stops. You still can at the moment a little bit, because it's just the first layer, and the first layer doesn't need to be perfect. This is to put the paints down, to get an idea, to see if you like it, and then you can basically decide if you're going to stay with it. And if you don't like it, it's only paint over it. It's no problem. Now, as I said before, I'm always saying that to people, but I'm especially being here live in front of everybody. I'm always very, very nervous, and I really appreciate you watching me and giving me your support. That's absolutely great. Thank you for that, guys. When you're watching the replay, please let me know where you're watching from, and if you maybe have used Dixie Belle paints yourself before. If you are looking for your local retailer, you can go to the Dixie Belle paint page and look it up there. Also, the retailers in Europe are listed there. You find them on their page also. And if you don't have a local retailer in Europe or in Germany, will be more than happy to help you out, and just contact me or go to my web shop. I've got all the paints in there, and I'll be happy to help you out. So this is basically it for today. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments also. I'll give you an answer to that in whatever language you're putting it down. I'm sure I can sort it out with Google somehow. And apart from that, I'm happy that you've been watching today, and I would say I'll let you go for now. Bye guys, thank you.